Hi guys! Today I'll take a closer look at the oscillator of partials and discrepancies and look into some tips and tricks on how to get the most out of it. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to start with wave clear and just bring up the fundamental and the first number of partials. As we turn the count, we can kind of hear it already, and let's turn up a few more of these. And if we put it down, we actually invert the phase of the partials that are affected there. But let's make a simple example where we just bring up the partials using the auto step sequencer. So I'm going to copy and paste this one and move up the next node. And if I double click a node, it returns to a 0 value, which can be extremely useful for you. And here we start to have something worth listening to. So by double clicking the slots, I activate them. So now I have 4 slots and I have internal on, and I'm just going to put up a 100% step sweep. So now we have something interpolating that sweeps it up and returns to the bass. And if we just add key tracking, it's going to move in different speeds for each voice depending on the frequency of the note. And here we're basically using like 4 or 5 partials, and it still gets an kind of interesting movement in it. Let's start over, and this time we can check out some of the other controls in the partial settings. So first, bring up a few of these, and as we turn count up, we can kind of hear this stepped sweep as we go from low to higher, and the higher amounts, the less of the sweeping is going to be heard. We can turn up the even partials or the odd partials, making it more hollow sounding. You can see how the partials move in the wave. So if we add a few more and do it again, we can get some cool effect. So let's play with the count, the odd, even, and the distribution. So I'm gonna set up this one and just copy it to the next slot, paste it there and move even, move up distribution, and move down the count a bit. So what we get now is a sweep between these. Still a very simple model. Let's look at the controls that are the disharmonic ones: wave warp, weirdness, and offset. So again, let's start with just something simple, just the wave warp. It kind of creates waves where some partials get moved closer together and some further apart in the frequency spectrum. You can kind of see this as waves generated in that wave display. And you can hear the harmonic nature of the partials is kind of roughed off. If we look at weirdness, it's doing kind of the same thing, but not in waves, but the closer to the fundamental, the closer the partial gets stacked. it's a bit more easy to actually work with, in my opinion, as it doesn't create that much chaos. So we can, and then the last control is the offset. You can't see this in the display, but it moves all partials an equal amount away from each other or closer apart. So and if you stick to like fixed multipliers, you will get harmonic sounds, but as you move in between those, you can actually get very inharmonic sounds, and they become fun when you start to add movement to them. So let's add a few slots and just randomize the wave on each, and maybe just double click to remove a bit of the high partials. And then I'm gonna move the offset control just a tiny bit on these, and of course activate them. So again, let's move up the slew a bit. And you're in a total different territory of sounds. And likely not what you're used to from an additive synth. If we take the lock control, we can actually overrule whatever setting is in the slot for one of the parameters, or all 6 if you want. So you can create quite a lot of sounds fast in a way you've never been able to in additive synthesis, as far as I know. So I find this very fun. Let's start again, and let's do the wave clear as I usually do when I start. And we're gonna try, if we say that, let's have the basic fundamental on all waves. And then we add like a spike, and that spike is something we're gonna move between these slots. We're gonna move the spike between the slots to see how that sounds. So let's paste it, and then we're just moving it a bit. And then again, let's copy and paste it and turn it on. Let's move it a bit further. And these 3, let's do an interpolation of them and see how it sounds. So internal clock, I'm gonna turn up the full. You can hear the fundamental staying like extremely stable, and then you hear this little almost resonant sweep going on top of it. So it can create some kind of nice effects. And let's bring up the count for all of them. So yeah, that's nice. Let's start over again. And now just let us randomize, and we can randomize the partial parameters too. And let's move to the next slot, do the same. And do it for a few of these, so we get something completely randomized, and then just listen to whatever sound it makes. And as this plays without the slew, it works quite well, but when we introduce slew and we have all these non-harmonic parameters changing, we're gonna get a very chaotic sound. And we can of course change each slot to our liking, and then add a bit of key track so we have difference, and then voice offset maybe, so it starts at different position for each voice. Again, very inharmonic sound, which might be very useful sometimes, so play around with it. Let's start again, and now let's actually utilize something I think is kind of clever. We do a simple of these, and we're gonna add it to just a few slots. So we have 4 slots having the same, so on the 3rd slot now I'm gonna clear the wave, basically making so it goes quiet. Which sounds kind of annoying in this way, but if we add the full slew, it goes down and it creates kind of a tremolo effect. And if we add key track to it to offset how fast it goes depending on note. Let's start over, and oh, a lot of nice overtones there, so let's do something with this and just fade out and fade in the middle parts and even the fundamental a bit. And again, let's And if we add a bit of wave discrepancy, it actually changes for each voice how that wave is gonna be. But as a multiplier, we need to kind of move a few just to get some effect. Let's put it in dual mode and add a bit of... And I think this is a good sound to add a bit of reverb. So just the standard setting from Geometry Reverb here. I can just close it down and we can hear. Yes, quite nice. Let's turn off the reverb again and start over. So, wave clear, and wave clear on the right, slot 2, yeah. So, let's see. we can do some cool movements with the distribution and count. So randomize the next one and add count, move the distribution up, randomize, take down the count, and then and let's again add some reverb, so I just turn it on. Let's start over again, and this time we're gonna do kind of a partial amount sweep. So we set up a wave. Let's turn off the reverb again, and this we're just gonna use that one, and we're starting at a very low amount and then paste in, and then keep it at 64 or something. It can be fine. Just put up the full slewing. And there in the bottom you can actually hear how it sweeps. That's what we're attenuating. So let's copy that, paste it again, and paste it again, and let's see now what we get. I think we should add a random so it moves between these 4 slots, not like in a nice order. Let's try it another way around. I'm gonna remove the first. So just bring up these to like full level, and we're gonna reduce the amount of partials to minimum, and then copy this, paste it into the next, and activate it. Turn up the count to like 17 is fine. Paste it again, and let's maybe put it in between and do something with the distribution. It won't change much here, so let's do it like this so we get a bit of sound change. So yeah, and then we're gonna turn on the voice offset and random and let each voice kind of step through this. And you can kind of hear how the partials in the end turns on and off as they come in. So adding a bit of reverb again to that one, and a bit of release time, maybe some fade in to make it a pad. And maybe add some FM or like some key tracking on the modos and finding. It's kind of a nice string sound, but you have that weird turning on and off of partials in the background, so yeah, I think that's kind of nice. Let's do another thing. And again, looking at something more random maybe. Turning off that reverb. So this one, and adding weirdness to it. Then do some changes to just the amount of partials and the weirdness parameter. So when you hear it stepped, it's yeah, that's kind of cool. So you have this noise character. Let's bring in even more of that by adding some noise. And again, a bit of reverb, and it becomes this lovely pad. And when I took on key track here, it became a lot more like chaotic almost. And yeah, let's do a final example now, starting with wave clear, and we're gonna turn up a few of these partials again, and of course turn up the reverb. So what I want to do now is kind of sweep up to a different state. So I'm starting with an offset set down, and then pasting it and turn the offset to 0. So if I turn on keyboard reset and keyboard next, I can set here how long time it's gonna actually. So changing maybe the count too, so it sweeps the count, and yeah. So when we have keyboard reset and keyboard next, it sweeps to the next voice. And if I take voice offset, it's gonna sweep on every even voice from 1 to 2, and every odd voice from 2 to 1. So and depending on let's add a third there just to play with this. Maybe bring up this to like 2.5-ish. And maybe fade in a bit of FM modulation on it for a few of these. Now let's add a reverb to it and see if